Signature.
A magic potion pours over the markets. The Nasdaq skyrockets 91 points to a new record and on record volume as well. And the Dow gains more than 100 points. Good evening, everyone. I'm Susie Garib in New York City.
And I'm Jeff Yasteen in Miami. Paul Kangas is off tonight. The nation's third largest stock exchange becomes the first to start after hours trading. Then turbulence ahead for aerospace giant Lockheed Martin. Its stock has a bumpy ride after warning profits will be lower than expected next year.
Nightly Business Report is brought to you by Compaq, bringing the full benefits of the internet to people and businesses all over the world so they can find the answers they're looking for. Compaq, better answers. Franklin Templeton, serving investors for over 50 years. Franklin Templeton and Mutual Series, investment products distributed by investment professionals. The financial consultants of A.G. Edwards, committed to making investors comfortable with their investments, with their futures. A.G. Edwards, be comfortable. And is produced in association with Bridge, the global financial information company, providing real-time and historical market data, analysis, and news.
What a difference 7 decades makes. On this, the 70th anniversary of the crash of 1929, the bulls were out in full force on Wall Street. The Nasdaq hit a new record, up 91 points, closing in on that 3,000 mark, and the Dow and S&P 500 racked up gains as well. Erica Miller reports.
It's the time of year for witches, ghosts, and all things scary. But not on Wall Street today, where nothing could spook stocks. The big news was at the Nasdaq, where the composite closed at a record high. Analyst Brian Finnerty says the index is headed higher.
I don't think we'll get this kind of percentage move on the upside every day, but I do think that we may have found a bottom in here, and we may go back up and retest the highs. Rather than retesting lows, we may challenge those highs again.
Chip stocks led the gains, one day after Intel issued an upbeat forecast about demand. Those comments also helped shares of computer manufacturers and internet companies. Investors were also relieved that Fed Chairman Alan Greenspan didn't pull any punches in his speech to a business group last night.
He didn't say anything negative about the markets being over-exuberant or anything like that, and he did acknowledge that growth had been far better than expected because of the technological component with low inflation.
For the Nasdaq, it's been a frightful journey back to new highs. After closing at a record October 11th, the Nasdaq bungee jumped down nearly 8% before heading back up. And some of today's gains may simply be window dressing by portfolio managers. The end of October is the close of the fiscal year for many mutual funds. Some managers buy high-flying stocks so they can say they own them in annual reports. Analyst Ron Hill remains cautious.
I think that the markets probably will be lower than they are today by the end of the year, and we're looking at year 2000 at the first possible year for negative year-over-year returns that we've had in 10 years.
Many on Wall Street are happy that October is over. After all, it's known for its notorious crashes. Another reason investors are happy to leave October behind is that statistically, November is the best month for stocks. Erica Miller, Nightly Business Report at the Nasdaq market site.
The combination of those reassuring comments from Greenspan and reassuring news from Intel put investors in the buying mood, and so stocks and bonds rallied all day long. The Dow was a bit reserved at the open, up only 33 points, but the Nasdaq got off to a solid start, skyrocketing 58 points with the composite index hitting a new record high. The resurgence continued through the morning, bolstered by a strong rally in technology stocks and with AOL and Intel leading the way. After just 1 hour of trading, the Dow surged 142 points and the Nasdaq was better by almost 100. By late morning, the indices retreated from their early highs, but there was no question about the bullish bias in the markets. During the lunch hour, stocks moved to new session highs, market internals continued to improve, and volume was heavy, especially on the Nasdaq. Late in the day, with an hour to go, volume on the Nasdaq had crossed 1.1 billion shares. By the closing bell, there was lots to cheer about. The Dow finished up 10 points to 10,729. Excuse me, Dow increased by 107 points to 10,729, rather. The blue chip average fell twice but rose 3 times this week. It registered a weekly gain of almost 250 points. And for October, the Dow increased 392 points, or 3.8%. A gangbuster day for the Nasdaq. It vaulted 91 points to a new record high, 2966. Big board volume strong today, 1 billion shares there. Another high-flying day for transports, up 45 points. Utilities tacked on another third of a point after a decent week of gains, and the closing tick slightly bearish at minus 201. Looking at the broader markets, the S&P 500 jumped 20, a 12-point gain on the 100. The mid-cap added 8.5, and the CRB index moved up a fraction. The NYSE Composite rose 7, the value line up by 4.7. The Russell 2000 better by about 6, and the Wilshire 2000 climbed 220. Well, the bulls also dominated the bond market today for a second day in a row. Many traders interpreted those Greenspan comments last night as meaning there will be no rate hike by the Fed next month. Others weren't so sure, but the bullish argument got more support from a report today showing the number of new homes sold in September fell to the slowest pace in about 2 years, and that's why corporate and tax-free issues closed higher. As for treasuries, the 5-year note rose 11/30 seconds, the 10-year better by 22/30 seconds, and the 30-year jumped more than a point, pushing the yield down to 6.16%. And the Lehman Brothers Long Bond Index added 17 points. And in just a few minutes, we'll take a look at some of the stocks making news today. Jeff?
Well, Susie, the Chicago Stock Exchange is tallying up its trades this evening in the first after-hour session held on any major stock exchange. The exchange kicked off its first extended trading session at 3:30 Central Time, ending at 5:30 Central. It is trading all NASDAQ 100 and S&P 100 issues and 100 other actively traded stocks. Officials in Chicago expect trading volume to be light at first, but will grow over time.
Clearly, our exchange has developed a pretty good reputation for blocking and tackling and getting things done on time and for doing a good job of implementation. We'll make certain that if there's an investor interest out there, they'll find their way here and we'll have a very good growing amount of trades.
Forney says the exchange launched the extended trading session on a Friday in part so it could work out any computer bugs over the weekend.
More signs that Lockheed Martin is in trouble. It ousted its president, Peter Tietz, today and dramatically slashed its earnings projections. Tietz said that he takes responsibility for the disappointing outlook, but as Dennis Moore reports, that still might be not enough to satisfy investors who have doubts about Lockheed management.
What's going on at Lockheed Martin is just plain scary for investors. Time after time this year, the company has missed its financial targets and warned of worse news to come. Lockheed Martin's management is facing a real crisis of confidence on Wall Street.
And I think that although they are having limited management changes and have offered some divestitures of businesses, that may not offset the negative impact of downward revision in earnings estimates and as well as free cash flow.
Free cash flow meaning having enough money to pay the bills on time and service the debt. In rough terms, Lockheed Martin is now worth about $8 billion on the stock market. But it has about $12 billion in debt, costing $900 million a year in interest. That's a company in trouble.
One of the key challenges for Lockheed Martin right now is to disabuse investors of the notion that they have scant knowledge of or financial control over many of the new businesses that their acquisitions have reaped.
Lockheed Martin is the product of the massive merger and acquisition spree promoted by the Pentagon earlier in this decade. One after another, the big three survivors, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and Raytheon, have had massive management and financial problems pulling their new companies together.
I think that the management currently in place at Lockheed Martin understands the problem. They have communicated it very well today to the investment community. The next step is execution.
The lack of good execution at Lockheed Martin and elsewhere has been raising real worries at the Pentagon. The customer is not happy.
It is getting scary from the U.S. Perspective about whether we can maintain the kind of defense industry that we need in the future.
And it will be months, even years, before the defense industry turnaround comes. Dennis Moore, Nightly Business Report, Washington.
Another banner day for the markets. The Nasdaq was the star of the day with a new record, and the blue chips also scored big with a triple-digit gain for the second day in a row. On the big board, the Dow jumped 107 points to 10,729. For the second day in a row, advancers maintained their 2-to-1 lead over declining issues. And here's a switch: 120 new highs versus 90 new lows. Recently, the bigger number has been on the bottom. Tyco topped the list of the most actives today, down 4 1/16. A new article in the New York Times raised questions about the company's accounting policies connected to some recent acquisitions, but Tyco said the article was both confusing and misleading. AOL surged another 3 points or so on top of a 6-point gain. Investors euphoric about AOL's plans for a 2-for-1 stock split. Compaq edged up a fraction, and so did Citigroup, and Lucent ended up more than a point. Lockheed Martin nosedived 2 11/16, or about 12% on that management shakeup we just told you about, and also that big earnings warning. A good day for some of the Dow stocks. AT&T added 3/4, Philip Morris up 3/16, and a big day for Big Blue. IBM up 3 5/16, and Unisys gained 2 5/16. Among the widelies, American Express got hammered, down 6 1/4. Morgan Stanley cut its rating from a strong buy to outperform. And Cypress Semiconductor gained 2 3/4. A jury ruled in favor of the company in a case on patent claims. Delta Air moved up 2 5/16. Business Week in its November 8th edition suggests it might buy out SkyWest. Electronic Data exploded by more than 4 points on a strong earnings report, 51 cents a share, which beat street estimates by 2 cents. GM advanced 2 1/4, and a lot of fanfare for Home Depot, up 13/16. Remember, on Monday, it'll be one of the new stocks in the Dow Index. Running down the big movers, Reinsurance Group of America jumped 5 5/8. Third-quarter earnings before gains grew 26%, and Boise Cascade rose 4 3/4, and that's after Merrill Lynch raised year 2000 and 2001 earnings estimates on a couple of paper companies. Fair Isaacs climbed 4 1/8. Investors applauding its better-than-expected results and a decision to get out of some unprofitable businesses. And Boyd's Collection tumbled 4 1/4. Merrill Lynch believes its collectibles could be shelved for some time because of an industry slowdown, and also its third-quarter earnings only matched street estimates. Two earnings disappointments here. Fourth-quarter numbers for Gartner Group came in at 20 cents a share. That was 4 cents below estimates. The stock dropped 3 13/16. And Burns International lost 3. The company confirmed in its latest profit report that it won't meet its fourth-quarter forecast. Over on the Nasdaq, the composite index closing in on the 3,000 level. It surged 91 points today to a record 2966. For the week, the composite was up about 150 points. Volume also hit record levels, 1.4 billion shares. And today, 588 more stocks were up than down. Just take a look here at the high-tech stalwarts. Microsoft up 2 11/16. Intel tacked down 5 1/4. MCI WorldCom jumped 2 3/16. Cisco Systems up over 3, and Sun Microsystems advanced 7 3/16. A good day to go public. Akamai Technologies skyrocketed 119 points from its 9 million share offering, priced at $26 a share. The company monitors internet traffic, and we see investors ran stop signs to get in on it. Yahoo jumped more than 4 points. Dell ended up 1 5/8 rather, and JDS Uniphase surging 14 7/16 thanks to a glowing report by CT Securities, and Applied Materials climbed more than 6. Here's another IPO that did well today. Charter Semiconductor. It shot up 13 3/16. The Singapore-based firm came public at $20 a share. But U.S. Oncology fell about 3 1/2, and American Extol Technology dropped 9 1/2. In Amex trading, the composite index cleared the 800 level with a gain of 7 1/4. Diodes rose 1 3/4. After yesterday's 2 1/4 point run on excitement over the successful investments in China. SJW Corp gained 11 1/4 on news that it'll be acquired by American Waterworks for $128 a share. And finally, all of the index shares in positive territory. And those are some of the stocks making news today. Jeff?
Along with the usual glitz and glamour that is the Tokyo Auto Show, this year's Tokyo Auto Show also provides a glimpse into how dramatically the industry has changed there. It has gone inward